Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Hockman. I am the medical matchmaker. I love all things employment for physicians, helping physicians to find the most awesome jobs that align with your priorities and your values. And similarly, I help practices find physicians. And I'm really excited today. We're going to speak with Dr. Akshita Mehta about balance. So, Dr. Mehta, thank you for being here with us today.
This is so fun. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, me too. I'm excited to hear everything you have to say. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, where you are now, all the things. Tell us about you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. So, I am a practicing neuroradiologist. I got out of training a couple years ago, and around that time, had my first little one, and was really trying to figure out what I wanted attending life to look like, what I wanted practice to look like, what I wanted life to look like in general. And so, really just had this math problem of I have so many hours in a day, and how much time do I want to be able to spend at work and life and on me and with kids. And so quickly, I think, realized that I wanted to work part time, kind of stepped back, was looking into alternate revenue streams, got really interested in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial journey and different things that we can do. And I think along that journey, also realized that the way that we practice medicine, wasn't exactly what I wanted. There was a lot of stress, a lot of burnout associated with it. And so I was also trying to find a way that I could do it on my own terms. I could do it in a way that made me happy, and I could do it in a way that I felt we were doing the best for our patients. And so yeah, I started working part time, and then I started investing in real estate for alternate revenue streams. And now I am so excited that I'm pursuing a lifestyle medicine certification this year. I've always been interested in nutrition, and so I'm interested to see where that area of passion goes, and culinary medicine and working a little bit more with prevention.
That's great. And, something we were chatting about before, I really find, for myself at least, that being an entrepreneur has really helped me to enjoy medicine more. I feel like I'm not trapped. I'm there because I want to be there. I love my patients. I love my colleagues. I get to be a doctor because I want to be a doctor, not because I feel trapped in medicine. Can you speak to a little bit about your experience with that as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the way that we interact with patients, what kind of product we provide for our patients, really comes from how we're feeling. And for me personally, just having the flexibility to work the way that I want to work, I think has made me a much better physician. I think it's made me a happier physician. It allows me to show up, and it allows me to just be excited when I'm there, to be a lot more interested, to be interested in asking questions and trying to come to the right diagnosis, interested in working with other, referring colleagues that I get. And so I think it has totally changed the way that I practice, and I think my excitement about medicine.
I agree with you completely. I mean, I remember working a job where I would say like 120% of my mental energy went into it. And I don't feel like I had anything left in my mental bandwidth for when I got home for my kids. And, have working the way, like you say, like the way I want to be working. I feel like when I leave, I'm done. I love it when I'm there. I'm fully engaged. I love it. And then when I come home, that doesn't even enter my mind whatever happened in work, and I'm fully with my kids, as far as the medicine side goes. And so many physicians feel like we have to do hospital employment, we have to do private practice, we have to own a business, whatever it is. But I feel like there's so many other ways of doing it, because not those are not for everyone. So how did you structure your medical career so that you have that flexibility and time to have the balance for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think I had a really similar path. I think a lot of this came up when I had my first kid. And it was a very similar experience. I was in fellowship at the time, so there wasn't a whole lot that I could do schedule wise, but it really made me think about what I wanted practice to look like. And I would come home and I would be totally exhausted, either physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, usually both. And so I really wanted practice to look a little bit different. And so initially I was doing a 7 week on, 7 week off schedule, or 7 day on, 7 day off schedule, to the 1 week at a time. And for a while that was okay, but still what everyone says, definitely leads to burnout. I thought that would give me a lot of time with my son, but I was just exhausted. And then so took a step back and ended up just quitting partnership track, which was a really scary and I think kind of controversial thing to do really early out of training. But ultimately, I knew that I wanted to be happy and I wanted to practice from a happy place. And so ended up doing a 1099 job. And so now I just am essentially locums contract. I work when I want, I read as much as I want, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. I get to drop my kids off at school every day. If I need to go pick them up, I can pick them up. If they're sick, it's not a big deal. And a lot of that stress just kind of melted away, and I get to spend a ton of time with them now, and I love it.
Something that I felt that I think many of us feel in medicine is the need to do what we feel we should be doing,
Mm-hmm.
or this responsibility towards our patient, but oftentimes our families suffer because of that, where we feel bad if our kid gets sick, or I know not everyone wants to be around their sick kid, but I know for me, when my kid is sick, I want to be home with my kiddo. Like, I want to be doing the things that moms do. Like, I
Yeah.
love the mom part of my life. And I think having that flexibility, that 1099 or locums or however you work it, is just so wonderful. You're right. It just totally melts away because you don't
Yeah.
have that, like, oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just really taking some time to be totally honest. There's no right answer and there's no cookie cutter answer for everyone. And I think that's what makes life really fun, to just take a step back and find the areas of life where you're doing things because society told you to, or training told you to, or this is what everyone else was doing when they graduated. And, realizing, hey, I do want to be the mom that takes care of their sick kids, or I don't. It's okay. It's okay if I have this person who I really trust who's going to take care of them and I know that they're going to be okay, and it's okay that I'm not there. And no right or wrong answer, but I think finding whatever brings that balance and can complete us to be more of a happy physician, I think is really important. So I agree. I love those moments where I get to just be at home with them and then I can practice whenever there's time in between.
Yeah. And I know there'll be someone watching today or at some point, kind of wondering, well, gosh, how do I make this happen? What do I do? I'm in this job, I'm miserable, but I want to be able to do that, but I can't. And there's so many things. Like, what do you think is getting in the way of other physicians doing what you're doing?
I think I think there's always that feeling of I can't. I think there's always that feeling if someone else's circumstance is different than mine. But I think it just takes a little bit of looking around, a little bit of headspace around, well, if I did, what would that look like? If I did this, what would those options be? Um, and I think there's always a way for everyone. There's a way for everyone in every single kind of specialty, I think, to work the way that they want, to treat patients the way that they want, and it's going to look different depending on different scenarios. But I think the first thing is just to question it and to really decide for yourself, well, what do I want that to look like? And at the end of that, it may be that, hey, I actually am really happy where I am, and that's great too. And I'm seeing all these people doing different things, but I love my job and I love the schedule, and that works. And if that's not the conclusion, then I think, asking around how other people are structuring their day, asking around, or even asking within the same employee, within the same hospital system, whatever the practice structure is, well, what if I did go part-time? What would that look like? And sometimes it feels like that's not going to be an option, but we don't know until we ask. So I think it's always worth asking the question.
That's true. And one thing I see a lot, I work with a lot of doctors who are looking for jobs. So we talk about money because that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Um, how did you navigate that working less hours, as a neuroradiologist? You have these other pursuits. Like, how did you balance the money side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think I still work enough to balance most of our expenses, or really all of our expenses, but there's always that interest in more, and I really think it's important for physicians to find alternate revenue streams. And so I've talked a little bit about this before, but real estate, I love real estate. I love real estate for physicians. I love real estate for anyone. But I don't think that has to be the one avenue that anyone goes down. It's always been a passion of mine and something I've always been interested in. I started pursuing it really in residency, and acquired my first property in fellowship. And So that was something. But I think for anyone, finding another revenue stream through a passion um, is really, really beneficial. And I think it allows that financial freedom that gives you some mental freedom to then go about your day how you want to. So that was the first thing that I did.
Yeah. And really allow yourself to dream,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was just thinking back, you were talking about how, imagining what it looks like and just allow yourself to dream. Just allow
Yeah.
yourself to think of those other ways of practicing, that other ways of being. Think about what you like, what you don't like, and the things you don't like. Maybe turn them into things that you don't want. What do you want? Like if you, for me, I don't like not having structure, so I'm going to turn that into, I want to find something with structure. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that kind of that age old game of if you could design your day, what would it look like? And if it doesn't look like what your day really looks like right now, then, small steps, a little bit over time to get closer to what your ideal day would be.
Yeah. And so many of us are. We need structure. We need to know we're going to go in, see the patient, come out, write the note,
Right.
have that structure is so important. And to not have that is scary. It can be scary to not know. And there's that risk that we run of, we'll be home all day with having done nothing. We binged a tea, which is totally fine to do. But, if you every day don't have something to do, or maybe 3 times a week, and you don't know how to spend that time, it's important to be mindful of how we're going to spend that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think going back to your point, I think that's where part of the entrepreneurial kind of fun comes in. I think when you have that mindset and you find something that you really love and you can kind of, sink your teeth into this passion and make something out of it, I think that provides this amazing balance. And whether that gives financial flexibility or just some mental space, some ease of stress, I think that's always been really fun. And there's been such great examples of physicians doing incredible, incredible things. And it's always fun to hear their stories.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree completely. Just allow yourself to and allow yourself to fail as well. Like, that's
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's probably one of the hardest lessons. The hardest lessons over the last few years is redefining, I think, that word, right? Because we come from such a rigid background and there is no room for failure. There really isn't. You just one number, could be off or wrong patient rooming. There's no way that we can accept any of those things. But then that doesn't have to translate to the rest of life, and it shouldn't. And so really switching that mindset to embrace failure and to love failure and to realize that failure is how we grow. And if we fail 100 times, then maybe the next time is going to be something incredible.
Mhm.
And I think that's such a fun part of the entrepreneurial journey too, is to have this dichotomy of medicine, which has to be what we define as like perfect, right? We have to do it perfectly every single time, versus an entrepreneurial journey where failure is ubiquitous. And that actually usually translates into success. So everyone's going to fail when you start something new. But I think the people who are successful in the end are the ones that just keep going despite the failure. And so it's really, really fun to watch that process and to find a way to enjoy that process as opposed to being scared of it.
Mhm. Something I heard recently was failure. We can redefine it as feedback.
Yeah.
If you fail, and all the things that I've done and failed in, which, in entrepreneurship is a lot, because you do a lot of new, different, scary things in entrepreneurship. I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for the person that I've become through those failures and through learning. And, my perspectives on things have changed. And, there's still my core values that will probably, hopefully, never change. I mean, I like valuing things like family and all the rest. But definitely the way that I see the world has changed in a really good way. Like, oh, it's okay. You fail. So pick yourself back up. Time to go on to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, that pressure comes off a lot. And then you do get to learn. And then you just grow and you watch yourself grow, you watch yourself learn so many things. And it always applies to something else down the line. So I think the more we fail, the more we grow too.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to kind of see where I was before this whole journey, and then to see, who I am and how I can deal with things now.
And who will you be 5 years from now?
Yeah.
You could be a whole different person.
Yeah, with lots of failures coming, but that's okay. That just means that hopefully something will be successful down the line, and it'll be all the more worth it.
Yeah. Well, getting back to balance, I really love and appreciate that you've gone and done something different. You've done something that is not super conventional. You've decided what works for you, and it works great. And then maybe 3 years from now, well, realistically speaking, 4 years from now, when, little ones are kind of out the house most of the day, things may change and work may change with it, work may not change with it, but you have that
Mhm.
flexibility and that, you're not so rigid. And that's what's so cool about what you're doing is you have the ability to think outside the box and the flexibility, the mental flexibility, not just like I have the flexibility in my schedule, but you're like, if it doesn't work, we move on to the next. And that's cool. I think we need more people to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was definitely a lot of thought, a lot of intention behind that. It's hard to say, I'm not going to do this thing that everyone's told me to do, or that I see everyone else doing, and I'm not going to fulfill this partnership track position, and I'm going to do something else. But I think, when you leave, it's very like one door closes and another one opens. There's so many other things that we can be doing, and there's so many other ways that I can make an impact. Um, and having a little bit of clarity around that has been amazing too, even if I'm not practicing full-time as a physician or as a neuroradiologist. What else can I be doing with that time that could impact potentially even more people? And so that's really where I want to go with the lifestyle medicine certification and nutrition and culinary medicine, and taking a much deeper dive into that, and hopefully doing something really fun with that next year.
That's awesome. And so different from neuroradiology.
Incredibly different, but really feeds into another passion. And nutrition is something that we did not really learn a lot of in medical school. Most people don't really talk about it, but what we're seeing now, mostly in terms of healthcare, is a lot of chronic disease. And so there's a huge tie-in in what we're consuming, and how a totally different way that we can be helping ourselves and patients. And so I think that'll be a really fun journey to kind of explore as time goes on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. For anyone watching, do you have any lasting words or wisdom that you would like to impart on them?
Oh, I think if there's any wisdom, I guess, or any final words, I would say just take a step back, maybe, and really try and identify the things in your life that you're the most excited and the most passionate for, and then find a way to integrate them even a little bit and a little bit more each day. And I think that would make a big difference.
I love that. Thank you. Even if it's just 5 minutes of
Even if
whatever
it's
that
just a little
is.
bit. Yeah, yeah, I think it makes a big difference.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome.
So, we're going to wrap up. And if anyone's looking for me, I'm on www.happydayhealth.co. Come check us out. But if you are wondering what's out there, if you want something a little bit different, check me out. And also listen to Dr. Mehta. She has some really wise words. We get one life. We want to find that balance. We want to live it. You are not trapped. And find something awesome that fills your cup, that makes you happy every day, and that gives you that balance that you're looking for. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. And yes, if anyone wants to chat about balance or nutrition or real estate or any of the above, feel free to reach out. Would love to chat anytime.
And where can they find you?
Probably my email. I can send it to you, and then if you want to put it in show notes, then that would probably be the best way to reach out to me.
Perfect. Great.
Awesome.
Bye.